So let's Nolan Smith is your 3 and my 3 in our rankings. Nolan Smith from Georgia.
Yeah. He's got some very sort of, it's very entertaining tape because he's tiny, really, really small. He's a little bit like a pinball sometimes where he just starts like bouncing around between players trying to hit him and block him, like careening off contact, but he keeps going and he fights and he, consistently bounces to the right place eventually.
Energizer Bunny type.
Yeah. He's got moves for a guy that size. Like he's got a really good kind of push-pull ability for offensive linemen who have a dramatically longer reach than he does. I think he's maybe less scheme diverse than a guy like Myles Murphy, but right now he's a better player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like more teams, I think, are probably interested in a guy like Myles Murphy because he could play in anything, whereas right now Nolan Smith is the better player. Really, his only issue is the size and the sample size. Those two things. Like he's really small, and because Georgia rotates an absolute ton, he's hardly played. Like he hasn't been on the field that much.
Yeah, Nolan Smith, when I was watching him, I was like, hey, he uses whatever length he has really, really well, long arm, and so technically sound. He doesn't have long arms or anything like that. It's actually below average arm length and below average wings, actually about an average wingspan and all that stuff. He ran 4.39 at the combine just to add to it. So he's got one of the best 10-yard, the get-offs that we've seen over the last few years. All that's to complement a guy that's just been really productive. And again, I think for a guy that's like I've seen Nolan Smith set a hard edge in the running game far more than you've seen from, say, a Will McDonald, right? A guy that just hasn't he has to play a different role at Iowa State. So I think Nolan Smith can do all of your edge defender type of things. And I know we're well beyond the 4-3, 3-4 discussion.
Yep.
But it still kind of exists. There are still teams that have a 5-man front basically as their base.
Yep.
And that's where Nolan Smith is going to be, he's going to fit in better with Pittsburgh or, the Bucs, the way they play, and they drop their edges into coverage a little bit more. Teams that do that are going to, like, there will be some teams that still think Nolan Smith is too undersized for their pure 3-down defensive end role. So I don't know if that means he drops or if he just, if the right team is there. But I think he's just a really good, productive player who can get after the quarterback at a good, not great level and be good enough against the run.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot. I like him. I like this entire tier 2, I think, are good players. I just have, it's a case of which thing are you willing to bet on, which thing are you scared by. His size and relative lack of playing time is just concerning.
So
it is.
Let me get into some numbers for you. I looked up historically PFF data back to 06 for guys that are under 240 pounds. So this is relevant to your number 2 and 3 guys and my number 3 here for both Will McDonald and for Nolan Smith. This is where the concerns would come in. The best run defenders under 240 pounds since 2006. You have Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins. You have Leonard Floyd, and Floyd's a completely different body type. He's just like a long, skinny, 240-pounder, but he plays the run really, really well with that body type. Similar body type that played well against the run. Manny Lawson is up there. There's not a lot after that, though.
Manny Lawson.
That's
a guy. That's a name. That's the Skywalker meme. That's a name I haven't heard.
He could be the Tyree Wilson comp.
He's a comp for a lot of guys in this draft.
Yes.
All of a sudden.
Manny Lawson, remember that this was, 06 when his teammate
Mario Williams
goes number 1 overall. And I think NC State had, 4 defensive linemen all go in the first round? They had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
John McCargo, I think, went in there too. But Manny Lawson was the guy that's he's long, he's fast, and all projectable pass rusher. And he ended up being like a Sam hybrid linebacker, solid player.
He was the classic guy where he's that tall, long, but undersized,
Marquise Mingo type. Mingo, similar. He's on this list here. So there have not been a whole lot of undersized guys that are good against the run. There's only 2 guys with a PFF grade above 70 who are under 240 pounds. So now, as far as pass rushers go, best since 06, you have Robert Mathis. We only caught some of his career. James Houston, just last year on 92 rushes. Chris Clemens, Hassan Reddick. Remember Antoine Barnes, really undersized, good pass rusher. Andrew Van Ginkel again. And then you have guys like Arden Key, Leonard Floyd, Manny Lawson again. Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck. You got him in there. But there's some good pass rushers in there. But so as much as I love Nolan Smith and I do like Will McDonald, they'd have to be on the outlier side here to have really good long NFL careers in both facets of play.
And it's like you said yesterday, there's just outliers everywhere in this draft. And again, you don't need to go down the list very quickly before before you hit them. Before you hit, like, Will Anderson is your one guy that isn't the giant outlier. Everybody else is going to be an outlier, essentially, if they hit. Miles Murphy, maybe not so much, but like the other guys are going to be some form of outlier. It's again, like wide receivers. There's not much in the way of guaranteed safety, and then immediately you hit outliers. Jordan Addison, if he becomes, Isaac Bruce 2.0, it's going to be an outlier. Nobody else has done that since Isaac Bruce the first. It's kind of weird how this draft is just full of weird, unusual body types, speed, size, profiles, whatever.
Last year we saw Nick Benito. He was about 240, similar, we had run game concerns with him, but he was an elite pass rusher, 240 pounds, struggled as a rookie. All the data likes him, but, undersized and looks undersized.
Yeah.
I think Nolan Smith is better equipped to play as an undersized player because he's got that pop in his hands that reminds me of Von Miller sometimes and all that stuff. So there you go.
And he's got, like, insane athleticism. Like, Benito was good, but
and Nolan Smith is a crazy good athlete.
Yeah.